Currently, Cuba is one of the countries under embargo and the economy is facing difficulties. The country's food production is still limited, with very low annual output. However, Vietnam has surprised the world by helping Cuban farmers double their output per hectare now. Let's explore with us how Vietnam supports Cuba in developing agriculture. Miracle after 3 months, how did Vietnam help Cuba escape famine? A golden sky is filled with vast rice fields in the harvest season in Los Palacios district, Pinar del Rio province of Cuba. This is one of the outstanding achievements of agricultural cooperation between the two brotherly countries of Vietnam and Cuba. Three months ago, a pilot project was launched on a rice cultivation cooperation model between a Vietnamese enterprise, Agri-VMA Limited Liability Company, and local Cuban farmers. The results were surprising when the first 16 hectares planted with CT16 rice variety out of a total of 1,000 hectares yielded results that exceeded expectations with an average yield of over 7.2 tons of rice per hectare. This is a very impressive yield for Cuban farmers. Thanks to the rice varieties, materials and techniques of Vietnamese agricultural engineers, the harvest yield has reached over 10 tons of rice per hectare, far exceeding the previous harvest yield of Cuban farmers and businesses, which was only about 3 tons of rice per hectare. So, how is the cooperation project between Vietnam and Cuba implemented to achieve such success? In recent years, Vietnam has continued to support Cuba in implementing 3 projects, including the Vietnam-Cuba Cooperation Project to develop rice production in Cuba for a period of 5 years, the Aquaculture Cooperation Project in Cuba for a period of 2023 to 2025, and the Corn Production Cooperation Project in Cuba for a period of 2023 to 2025. Currently, Vietnam and Cuba have been implementing 3 pilot models. According to the first model, Cuba will grant land use rights without collecting fees, while Vietnam will fully manage the implementation of the rice growing project. The second model is cooperation between enterprises of the two countries to produce rice in Cuba. The third model is that Vietnamese enterprises provide essential agricultural materials and raw materials for agricultural production to small-scale rice production units in Cuba. Currently, Vietnamese enterprises are implementing the first model, investing in rice cultivation in Cuba. The Cuban government has proposed increasing the cultivated area from 20,000 hectares to 100,000 hectares to meet the target of consuming about 600,000 tons of rice per year by the Cuban people. In general, the project's goal is to ensure that Cuba can be self-sufficient in food production throughout the country. With the success of the pilot project, Cuban farmers were very happy and excited when the harvest season began. They were also impressed with the results and very grateful for the support and technical assistance from Vietnam. With the success of this pilot project, Cuban farmers will quickly expand to over 400 hectares in the near future and move towards expanding to the entire Pinar del Rio province. Such achievements are also due to the tireless efforts of Vietnamese and Cuban engineers. Initially, the project encountered many difficulties when the local soil lacked phosphorus and potassium, requiring the use of large amounts of fertilizer, along with a lack of machinery and equipment. However, with the efforts of Vietnamese and Cuban engineers, these shortcomings were successfully overcome. sharing the joy of Cuban farmers, together with Vietnamese and Cuban engineers. Ambassador Lu Quang Long highly appreciated the efforts and capacity of Vietnamese enterprises in promoting and implementing new initiatives and models to improve productivity and quality of cultivation, as well as contribute to Cuba's plan for self-sufficiency in production and food security. The fact that Vietnamese enterprises are interested in learning about and investing in the Cuban market, especially in the agricultural sector, also demonstrates the role and responsibility of enterprises in joining hands to develop the special traditional brotherly and friendly relationship between Vietnam and Cuba, especially in the context that Cuba is going through an extremely difficult period in terms of economy and society. With long-term cooperation in the future, Vietnam and Cuba will certainly achieve more achievements. Not only will it help Cuba achieve great achievements in self-sufficiency, but it will also help them step onto the path of self-reliance. This also strengthens the strong diplomatic relationship between the two brotherly countries of Vietnam and Cuba.
Do you think rice can be grown on water? Many people will say that this is impossible, but this was probably the correct assessment from the past decade when traditional farming activities still dominated. In recent years, with the creativity of farmers and the development of technology, floating rice fields have been created on hundreds of hectares of fish ponds. Yes, it is the creativity of Chinese farmers when uniquely combining these two forms of farming and aquaculture. Now, let's explore with us how Chinese farmers cultivate hundreds of hectares of rice on fish ponds. Rice fish farming has long been a farming method in many parts of Asia, but it is mainly fish that are released into rice fields. But it is also thanks to this form that Chinese farmers have created a farming technique that allows rice to thrive in flooded conditions. Unlike traditional rice paddies, farmers have adapted it to allow rice to grow on the surface or in specially designed floating beds within fish ponds. From a distance, we can see the rice plants growing vigorously and lushly in the plastic trays on the pond surface. The rice plants grow as vigorously as those grown on traditional soil. So, how is rice cultivation carried out on fish ponds? Growing rice in a pond is not an easy task. The prepared nutrient soil needs to be sterilized at high temperature and then placed in a plastic tray with many small holes at the bottom. The rice seedlings are planted first and then transplanted into a floating board with holes. Finally, the board is placed in order on the surface of the fish pond. Compared with traditional farming, floating rice on the water surface does not have direct contact with the soil, completely cultivating in a green and ecological way. Once planted, farmers need to closely control the growth rate and water in the fish pond so that the rice plants do not die, and the health of the fish is also ensured. Fish raised in ponds are also of good quality as those raised in large reservoirs. Because in addition to the daily industrial feed provided, fish also eat pests from rice such as caterpillars or leafhoppers. These pests can fall from the rice stalks and become food for fish. The rice plants will also absorb fish waste such as ammonia, nitrogen, and phosphorus in the water as nutrients to clean the water quality, creating a cleaner environment. Rice grown in this model still has the same growth time as when cultivated in the field. Depending on the rice variety, it can be harvested after 3 to 4 months. Each year, 2 to 3 rice crops can be grown in the pond, improving productivity and ensuring food. Fish in the pond can be harvested 1 to 2 times a year, depending on the species of fish. Rice is harvested by farmers pulling rice trays up to the shore and harvesting them manually. They use specialized tools to cut the rice stalks and stack them on top of each other to prepare them for further processing. Rice grown in fish ponds has an annual yield of about 350 kilograms per acre and is also more expensive than regular rice. Some areas of rice farming on fish ponds have implemented mechanized rice harvesting, helping to reduce labor and increase productivity. However, it is still limited in some areas. Rice farming on fish ponds is a new form in China and has only been widespread in recent years. It offers many advantages over other farming practices. What are the advantages of growing rice floating on fish ponds compared to traditional rice growing? Using floating panels on the water surface to grow rice has a very significant effect. It creates symbiosis between fish and rice, so farmers can increase profits from this model. Each rice plant is grown on the water surface without direct contact with soil and is cared for organically throughout the process. It is also less susceptible to pests, so there is no need to spray pesticides or worry about water pollution. In addition, the rice also grows many long roots under the floating beds, which absorb nutrients from the water and clean the water. This unique integrated method not only improves the quality of rice, but also increases income from fisheries. This new integrated rice fish farming model can expand the rice growing area while maintaining the scale of pond fish farming. This is a new way to promote grain production, improve grain self-sufficiency, and ensure food security, and increase farmers' income. There are also many challenges. The initial planting cost is quite high. Farmers said that 1 square meter of floating boards used for planting costs 40 to 50 yuan. Moreover, rice is not yet mechanized. It can only be planted manually, so the labor cost is not low. However, floating boards can be recycled for subsequent planting, so the cost of the next rice crop will be reduced. Unlike traditional rice cultivation in rice fields, pond rice cultivation requires consideration of the situation of rice being submerged in water during growth. Water control, fertilizer, and density need to be adjusted according to actual conditions. Therefore, it requires 4 times more labor than conventional farming. We have just discovered how Chinese farmers earn millions of yuan by growing floating rice on fish ponds. How do you feel about this video? Leave your comments below to let us know. Over the past 2 decades, concerns about the impact of modern agriculture on land, water, and resources have caused many environmental challenges. So people are now moving towards sustainable farming practices. In particular, the aquaponics model is considered a highly efficient farming solution, solving many challenges. By using less water than conventional farming, reducing the need for synthetic fertilizers, and minimizing waste, aquaponics promises to produce food without harming our environment. So, what is aquaponics and how does it work? Let's explore it with us now. Aquaponics is a unique farming method that combines aquaculture, the method of raising fish, with hydroponics and growing plants in a soil-free environment. In an aquaponics system, fish and plants are raised together in a symbiotic environment, and they benefit from this combined model. The fish produce waste, which is converted into nutrients that the plants can absorb. In return, the plants filter and clean the water, creating a healthy environment for the fish. This closed-loop system is highly efficient, uses significantly less water than other farming methods, and virtually eliminates the need for chemical fertilizers. Today, aquaponics is practiced all over the world, from small-scale home gardens to large commercial farms. At first glance, aquaponics farms may seem like a complex system, but in reality, the way they work is very simple. They integrate many different components and biological processes to create a sustainable ecosystem. You can see that fish are growing very well in tanks. Their waste is mainly in the form of ammonia. In an aquaponics system, this waste is the starting point of a nutrient cycle that is beneficial to the plants. Beneficial bacteria convert toxic ammonia waste into less toxic nitrates, a process called nitrification. The plants are mainly green vegetables that have a relatively short growing period. Plants absorb nitrates and other nutrients from the water through their roots. As the plants absorb these nutrients, they clean and filter the water, which is then recirculated back into the fish tank. This nutrient uptake supports plant growth and productivity, allowing for a wide variety of crops to be grown. Many aquaponics farms grow a variety of fruits and vegetables, depending on the design of the system and the environmental conditions. Exploring the aquaponics model, you will see that the common components in this system are fish tanks, vegetable growing racks, and water circulation systems. There are also devices that control light, temperature, and humidity, creating a favorable environment for plants and fish to grow together. The aquaponics model has many advantages that make it an attractive choice for sustainable agriculture. These benefits include saving resources and increasing productivity, suitable for many different conditions and regions. It can also be applied from home garden models to commercial farms. One of the most important benefits of aquaponics is sustainability, especially in terms of water conservation and waste reduction. Traditional farming methods can be water-intensive, leading to waste. In contrast, aquaponics is designed to recycle water efficiently. Many commercial farms have revealed that aquaponics systems can produce higher yields than traditional farming methods. By raising fish and growing plants at the same time, the system offers a dual yield. It allows for the production of fresh vegetables and protein-rich fish from the same system, maximizing output from a given space. Plants grown in an aquaponic system typically grow faster and more vigorously due to the constant supply of nutrients from fish waste. This results in higher crop yields and shorter growth cycles, allowing for more productive harvests. Furthermore, the closed environment of an aquaponic system also allows for easy pest control without the need for chemical pesticides. Beneficial insects or manual methods can be used to remove pests. In addition to the benefits, designing an aquaponics model also brings challenges to farmers with limited financial resources. Because the cost of investment in equipment and materials is not small, it is difficult for farmers with limited finances to invest. Moreover, to operate the aquaponics model effectively, farmers need to understand the balance of fish, bacteria, and plants, because this system operates according to biological balance and bacterial activity. If they have knowledge, farmers will know how to choose the right type of plants and fish for the environment in the aquaponics system. To keep the system running efficiently and sustainably, farmers also regularly maintain it to avoid equipment breakdowns and extend its lifespan. The maintenance process also helps reduce equipment replacement costs, benefiting farmers. Have you ever wondered how MSG crystals, a familiar spice in everyday meals, are produced? You will surely be surprised to know that the raw material to create this unique spice is cassava root. From vast cassava farms, through modern manufacturing processes, and finally to the MSG packets in your kitchen, it's been a fascinating journey. Join me as I explore the cassava farms of Thailand and journey to MSG factories. The journey of MSG begins with large cassava farms. Here, Thai farmers will choose quality cassava varieties that are suitable for the soil type to increase productivity. For example, Rayong 9 cassava is suitable for loose sandy soil, Kasetsart 72 cassava is suitable for clay soil, and Hoai Bong 80 cassava is suitable for loose soil. Each year, Thailand produces an average of more than 20 million tons of cassava, becoming the second largest producer in the world, and exporting 70% of its output abroad. Cassava has brought high income to farmers, but the process of growing cassava is not easy. Before planting, farmers must prepare the land and seedlings. Healthy cassava plants, 10 to 12 months old, will be selected as seedlings. Previously, farmers had to plant cassava manually. Each seedling had about 5 to 7 buds for the plant to grow. First, people had to spray pesticides and root stimulants on the seedlings. Nowadays, most farms use cassava planting machines to make this process faster and more efficient. Cassava plants will be planted vertically on the bed, keeping a depth of about 10 to 15 centimeters. The distance between plants must be at least 80 to 100 centimeters. A special note is that the planting bed must be narrow and sharp, because about 4 to 5 months after planting, the cassava tubers will develop and risk emerging from the ground. After planting, large cassava fields are often watered with a drip system, both ensuring the right amount of water for the plants and saving time. In the first 1 to 3 months, farmers will water every 2 to 3 days. After that, just water once a week, each time for 2 to 4 hours. After about 8 to 12 months of planting and care, the ivory white cassava tubers are ready to harvest. Before starting to harvest, farmers will stop watering for 1 month to ensure the soil is dry, helping to increase productivity, and the cassava tubers produce a lot of starch at the right rate. On large farms, the use of cassava harvesting machines is becoming more popular. First, farmers will cut the entire cassava stem about 20 centimeters from the ground. These cassava stems will be kept as seedlings for the next crop. They then use modern cassava harvesting machines, moving along the rows to harvest. After harvesting, fresh cassava roots must be brought to the factory within 2 days to avoid damage and reduce starch content. The secret to getting quality cassava roots is to harvest around December to March of the following year, when cassava has a high starch content. Harvesting is usually not done around April to June because the plants develop young leaves and have little starch. From the lush green farms, cassava is transported to the factory, where the complex MSG production process begins. The largest MSG factory in Thailand is currently Ajinomoto. The cassava roots are crushed and extracted to obtain starch. First, the cassava starch and molasses are extracted into glucose and put into a fermentation tank. Then, fermenting bacteria are added. These bacteria consume the glucose, releasing glutamic acid. Through neutralization, the glutamic acid is converted into a solution containing MSG. The mixture is then decolorized and filtered, resulting in a pure MSG solution. Next, the solution is put into an evaporator to obtain solid crystals. During the MSG production process, modern equipment helps optimize the process, controlling the temperature, humidity, and fermentation time precisely. Finally, the crystals are dried to create the final product, MSG. These products will then be packaged and distributed to the market. MSG is a flavor-rich seasoning known as the purest form of umami. It is widely used in the food industry to enhance flavor. In particular, MSG can partially replace salt, reducing sodium intake by up to 1/3. Initially, MSG was mainly associated with Asian cuisine, but it is now used worldwide to add a delicious flavor to dishes. Currently, Asia supplies about 93% of the world's MSG production, including Thailand and other countries such as China, Indonesia, Vietnam, and Taiwan. Cassava cultivation to supply MSG processing factories has brought a stable income to millions of Thai farmers, while contributing to the development of the national economy. Millions of tons of MSG are produced annually to meet domestic consumption and export demand. In addition, byproducts from the process of harvesting and processing cassava into MSG also have many benefits. Farmers can use these substances to fertilize crops, creating a beneficial cycle. Hello all dear viewers of David Farm. Every year in winter, we are bustling to welcome the cozy Christmas day with our family. You can see green pine trees everywhere you go. From shops, streets to every family, they prepare a pine tree to welcome the wonderful Christmas. Therefore, before Christmas, there will be millions of pine trees prepared to be brought to the market for consumption. Now, let's explore with us how farmers harvest and process millions of Christmas trees. Although Christmas trees are consumed for only one holiday a year, they have formed an industry when the value of the global Christmas tree industry is estimated at more than $7 billion. The United States is the leading country in this industry. According to statistics, there are about 350 million Christmas trees grown on more than 15,000 farms across the United States. This industry also employs more than 100,000 workers. Every year, about 25 to 30 million trees are sold in the United States, bringing huge revenue to farmers and distribution facilities. The states that produce the most Christmas trees are Oregon, North Carolina, Michigan, and Washington. These trees are typically grown for 6 to 10 years, sometimes more than 10 years, to produce high-quality trees. Christmas tree production usually starts with sowing seeds in greenhouses. It takes 2 to 3 years for the seedlings to grow to the required height of 30 to 40 centimeters. Then each seedling will be moved to the fields and planted. This process can be done by machines because the farm area can be up to hundreds of acres, so planting by hand is very time-consuming and laborious. American farmers typically plant Christmas trees in the spring with an average of 1,000 seedlings planted per acre, spaced evenly to allow for canopy growth. Christmas tree production usually starts with sowing seeds in greenhouses. It takes 2 to 3 years for the seedlings to grow to the required height of 30 to 40 centimeters. Then each seedling will be moved to the fields and planted. This process can be done by machines because the farm area can be up to hundreds of acres, so planting by hand is very time-consuming and laborious. American farmers typically plant Christmas trees in the spring with an average of 1,000 seedlings planted per acre, spaced evenly to allow for canopy growth. After planting, pine tree care is also important as the trees need to be pruned annually as new growth develops, with the aim of achieving the most symmetrical cone shape possible. Pruning is typically done throughout the summer to ensure strong growth and a healthy appearance. Each tree can be tagged to classify by shape, allowing farmers to better manage their pine orchards. In addition, pine trees often encounter pests or slow growth due to weather and climate conditions, so farmers need to take timely preventative measures to avoid damage. In recent years, several farms in the United States have experimented with using drones to manage pine orchards to count trees and measure their height and density. Such technologies can also help diagnose and address problems with disease, fertilization, or soil compaction. Christmas trees take many years to grow to maturity and are ready for harvest, and harvesting is usually done in late November to provide fresh trees for the holiday season. To harvest pine trees quickly, farmers often use chainsaws, while larger farms often use mechanical cutters to increase efficiency. The harvested pine trees are passed through a baler, which wraps the trees neatly bundled with netting or rope. This process helps protect the branches during transport and makes them easier to handle. The baled trees are loaded onto trucks for transport to distribution areas. In a short time, millions of Christmas trees will be sold across the United States. In recent years, several farms in the United States have experimented with using drones to manage pine orchards to count trees and measure their height and density. Such technologies can also help diagnose and address problems with disease, fertilization, or soil compaction. Christmas trees take many years to grow to maturity and are ready for harvest, and harvesting is usually done in late November to provide fresh trees for the holiday season. To harvest pine trees quickly, farmers often use chainsaws, while larger farms often use mechanical cutters to increase efficiency. The harvested pine trees are passed through a baler, which wraps the trees neatly bundled with netting or rope. This process helps protect the branches during transport and makes them easier to handle. The baled trees are loaded onto trucks for transport to distribution areas. In a short time, millions of Christmas trees will be sold across the United States. Some farms also offer tree cutting services, which means families can walk around the farm and pick out their favorite trees and harvest them to take home. This service is becoming more popular in the US as consumers have more choice, and it also helps family members bond over choosing a Christmas tree together. After harvesting, Christmas tree farms often leave behind unsold or substandard trees that are chopped into mulch used to prevent erosion or reused as wildlife habitat. After cleaning up the farm, farmers plant seedlings in the spring to continue the cycle. Christmas tree farming is not only profitable for farmers, but it also contributes significantly to the ecosystem. The trees absorb carbon dioxide, helping to combat climate change and creating a cleaner, more sustainable environment. They also reduce soil erosion, especially when planted on hillsides. The Christmas tree industry creates thousands of jobs in the growing, caring, harvesting, and distribution of trees. For parts of Europe and America, Christmas trees have become a spiritual tradition for every citizen.
¿Qué pasa? All right, we're gonna sing, okay? Old.
Welcome to today's video. Have you ever imagined that you could talk to a bird? This is not a science fiction story, but a reality that is happening at parrot farms. How can farmers take care of, breed, and teach parrots to speak the human language? Is it easy? Let's discover this secret in today's video. Parrots have always fascinated many people with their colorful feathers and incredible intelligence. Today, parrots are the third most popular companion animals in the United States. However, not all parrots can talk. Only a few species of parrots have this ability, such as African gray parrots, macaw parrots, and Amazon parrots. Raising parrots is not only a hobby, but has become an important economic source for many families. Parrot farms are increasingly developing, helping farmers earn millions of dollars each year. The scarcity of talking parrots further increases their economic value. Parrots that have been trained and can talk can be worth up to $4,000 or more. Parrot farms need to ensure certain requirements, such as being built in quiet, safe areas away from loud noises and stressors for the birds. Depending on the size of the farm, it can be set up indoors in a dedicated bird cage or on a private plot of land. Although kept in captivity, parrots still have wild instincts, so they need a comfortable space that resembles nature. The parrot raising space needs to have enough tools such as perches, toys, swings to stimulate the parrot's mind and body. This space must also always ensure hygiene, provide enough food, and monitor the parrot's health and behavior. One of the most important aspects of a parrot farm is breeding and producing healthy parrots. Breeding pairs will be paired separately to ensure compatibility during breeding. Some species can exhibit territorial or aggressive behavior towards certain individuals, so creating compatible pairs can improve the chances of successful mating, egg laying, and raising of young. For pairing, parrots should be given a thorough health check by a veterinarian to ensure there are no genetic or inbreeding problems. Diet is also important, including high-quality food, fresh fruits, vegetables, and occasional treats. During the breeding season, parrots need extra vitamins and minerals. Breeding parrots can suffer from a number of health problems, including respiratory infections, feather plucking, and blocked eggs in females. Regular health checks and maintaining a clean cage will help prevent and resolve these problems. After pairing, parrots are placed in a separate breeding cage. The cage should be spacious, safe, and comfortable. The nest box provides a safe space for the females to lay eggs and should be designed to be easily accessible and clean. The breeding environment should mimic the natural environment to encourage breeding behavior and provide nesting materials such as wood chips or leaves to make the nest box more attractive. When the pair shows signs of readiness, the keeper should closely monitor their behavior. A stress-free and low-disturbance environment helps parrots mate, lay eggs, and hatch successfully. In some cases, the keeper may need to use artificial incubation with proper temperature, humidity, and ventilation. When the chicks hatch, they are very fragile and need careful care. A warm, safe, and nutritious environment is essential. The chicks need a special diet and early socialization to develop positive relationships with humans. So, how do these parrots speak the human language? This process is not easy and requires a lot of time and effort. Parrots need to be bonded to their owners from a young age. The best way to encourage your parrot to talk is to choose a few short words to start with. Simple words, when spoken with enthusiasm, seem more interesting to most parrots. In addition, parrot owners also need to repeat words or phrases frequently so that the parrot learns to imitate. Parrots do not have a brain programmed like humans, so the process of training them to speak human language is not simple. Owners and parrot trainers need to be patient. When teaching parrots to speak, they often reward them with food when they cooperate.
Can you do a red wolf?
Teaching them to speak the human language is just like teaching children.
Can you fall down?
There is no set time to train a parrot to talk.
Did
They
that
can
hurt?
start talking after about 6 months
Can you do
or
a
1
cat?
year, or they may
How about
never
a dog?
talk
Can
at
you
all.
bark?
This will depend
And
on
shoot
the
the lasers?
relationship between the
Can you
owner
do
and the
water?
parrot, or the personality of the individual.
And can you help me call the
bird.
dogs? Good.
Peekaboo! Glug glug. Come here, sweetie. Want a drink? You just so good. Yeah. You're so pretty.
In recent years, large commercial farms have sprung up, producing more and more parrots to sell as pets. South Africa is now the world's leading exporter of parrots. The country has exported more than 1 million parrots of more than 120 species since 2020, mainly to countries in the Middle East and South Asia. Commercial parrot farms can raise thousands of parrots in cages for mass export. Common and endangered species such as gray parrots, military macaws, and yellow-crested cockatoos are also being bred and sold. However, large-scale parrot farming also raises ethical issues. Farms need to ensure good living conditions for parrots and comply with regulations on parrot conservation in the wild. How to manage a herd of thousands of cows? This is a question that any farm owner wants to have an answer to because raising a large herd of cows is not easy and very costly. To solve this situation, some cattle farmers in the US have found a bold but extremely effective solution. So, right now, let's explore with us the most modern cattle raising method of American farmers. There are over 28 million cattle in the United States, many of which roam freely across vast tracts of land in the American West. Managing large numbers of cattle roaming thousands of acres is not an easy task, as it is time-consuming and requires a lot of physical effort. Traditional methods of herding, such as horseback riding, are ineffective, as farmers must spend hours moving cattle between grazing areas, monitoring each animal, and ensuring none stray or get hurt. To meet these challenges, American farmers have begun to use helicopters as a tool to manage their free-range cattle. After a period of applying helicopters to herd cattle, American farmers have realized the advantages that this method brings. First, helicopters can cover large areas of land in a fraction of the time it would take with other methods. This is especially useful when monitoring cattle in difficult terrain such as mountains, forests, or wetlands. With a bird's-eye view, American farmers can get a bird's-eye view of the landscape and monitor the status of their cattle, directing them to specific pasture areas. One of the most essential things when raising free-range cattle is precision. Helicopters have used GPS technology, allowing farmers to see the entire herd and predict potential problems, such as when the herd moves too far or some animals stray from the herd. In addition, aerial observation also helps farmers detect sick or injured cows. Early detection can prevent spread disease in the herd and ensure sick cows received prompt veterinary care. Many people think that using helicopters for livestock farming is very expensive because it requires a large initial cost for many farmers. But the long-term benefits make it a valuable tool for large-scale livestock farming operations. With just a one-time investment, American farmers can use helicopters for a long time and save on labor costs, thus reaping profits in the long run. Furthermore, the ability to manage the herd quickly and accurately also ensures healthier, safer, and more productive animals. Healthy cows produce better quality meat and milk, which increases farm profits. Once the cows are ready for slaughter, they are gathered by helicopter to staging areas and transported to the meat processing plant. The cows are inspected before slaughter to ensure they are healthy. Inside the processing plant is a systematic and strictly managed process, ensuring that beef products are safe for consumers. Animals are humanely anesthetized before slaughter, minimizing stress, be straightforward, and ensure compliance with ethical standards. After the slaughtering process, each beef carcass is cut in half by machine and chilled for 34 to 48 hours to cool and prevent bacteria from growing. This process helps preserve the freshness and quality of the meat. After 48 hours, the beef carcass is divided into main parts such as ribs, loin, and shoulder, and the beef bones are also removed. Skilled meat cutters or automated machines will carefully separate the meat from the bones, ensuring precise cuts. The beef is then graded based on a number of factors, including marbling, color, and tenderness. Higher grades are often sold as premium cuts, while others may be processed into sausages, bacon, or lunch meat. The final step in the processing plant is packaging, where the beef is vacuum sealed to extend its shelf life or sold fresh. The beef is then transported to grocery stores or supermarkets before reaching consumers. Throughout the processing process, hygiene is paramount, so equipment needs to be cleaned regularly and workers need to follow strict procedures to prevent contamination and ensure the highest quality products reach consumers. This also makes American beef products prestigious in the international market.